Hey there, friend. Welcome to the Having a Mom Moment podcast. I'm your host, Shannon Warner. This podcast is all about taking a few moments for yourself and reconnecting to the amazing woman behind the title of mom. You have so many plates spinning at any given time between your kids, your partner, your job, maintaining a household, etc., etc. But where does taking time just for you play into that? Let's spend some time together, you and me, right now. We're going to connect, tune in, and tap into what makes us the incredible woman that we are. We'll nurture ourselves so that we can pour into those who can count on us. We'll also hear from other moms to learn about the ways in which they've tapped into alignment in their own motherhood journeys. Let's roll. We're having a mom moment. Hello, my friends. This week we're doing something a little bit different with Father's Day coming up. I have brought on my husband, Mr. Having a Mom Moment, Ryan, and he is so uncomfortable right now because he does not like to talk. He does not like to say boo if he doesn't have to. So we're pushing him outside of his comfort zone and I'm living for it. It's going to be fun. So hello, husband.
Hello. It's very uncomfortable to be here.
I guess we can start talking a little bit about our background and how we met. Do you want to go or do you want me to?
No, I like the way you tell us, right?
He doesn't want to talk already.
Absolutely.
Okay. So Ryan and I met in 2005 in our sophomore year of college. We happened to live in a co-ed dorm. We happened to be on the same floor. We found out that we had a mutual friend by the name of Andy. And shout out to Andy. Not that he would listen, but shout out to Andy anyway, because Andy kind of connected us inadvertently. We all would leave our doors open on our floor in an attempt to, connect and be friendly and make friends. And he came walking down. We were at the end of this long hallway. No one ever came down this way. But he was looking for Andy. He popped his head in and said, "Hey, have you seen Andy?" And I was like, "Nope." And as soon as you walked away, I was like, I'm going to marry that kid. And so fast forward, it's now 2023. We have been married just shy of 10 years. We'll celebrate 10 years at the end of the month. So yeah, we've had a long journey together. A lot of life. About 18 years of life together. Yeah.
The relationship's an adult.
Our relationship is old enough to vote. Almost, right? 18 years this fall. So yeah, college sweethearts, and we've had a lot of adventure between now and then. And he is wildly supportive of everything that I've ever done, which is super sweet, including this whole endeavor. He's been incredibly supportive. So that's great. Anything you care to add?
No, the story was perfect.
You're gonna have to talk, right?
I'm gonna have to talk.
He's so uncomfortable, you guys. Anyone who knows Ryan, who's listening to this, knows how uncomfortable he is right now and probably knows exactly what face he's making.
Yep, they can picture it 100%.
Yeah. So I brought you on because I thought it was important to kind of have you echo your experience with the self-spouse spawn theory and how it has been so beneficial in our relationship to one another, but also in our relationship with our children and parenting our children. So, they've got my side of the story and how I take time for myself and how we have an arrangement that allows both of us to do that. But what does that look like for you? And, how does that kind of feel for you in your life as a dad?
Yeah, self-spouse spawn, which, a little catchier than self-spouse child. I think boiled down is very simple. It's very... if I'm not good, then we won't be good as, partners, which means we won't be good for our children. Well, I'm very routine oriented. I like to wake up. I like to go to the gym. I'm sure many people, including my wife, would call me a gym rat. Mm-hmm. But that's my meditation. That's what I do. I am a better person, a better individual, a better probably husband and father if I can get to the gym. Just kind of get it out. It's my therapy, if you will.
I think the reason it works so well for us is because you are happy to go at stupid o'clock in the morning. I think it might be a little different if, you were trying to dip out at, 5 o'clock every day to go for an hour and a half in the afternoon, which is like peak parenting time when you have working parents. So I think that's part of it. I know that you like to get up and do it first thing in the morning, but
it makes a lot of sense. I don't know if I've always been a morning person, but we get how many hours a day with our children? Maybe 1 in the morning, but we're all getting ready. Maybe 2 to 3 at night. Mm-hmm. So if I can go when they're asleep anyway, and I would just be either sleeping or not doing anything, I can spend more time with them, spend more time with you.
Yeah, I definitely appreciate that. It makes life easier because it gives me the space in the morning to do what I want to do for my own self time and the self-spouse spawn equation. And I will say sometimes if he's not feeling up to it, he'll skip the gym. And it's not his fault, but it does throw me a little bit. It's harder for me to get out of bed when there's another warm body there who is not getting up. And then it's harder for me to just kind of move about our space when I feel like I need to be conscious of him still sleeping. Again, it's no fault of his. It does work better for us both when he does choose to get up and go in the morning, for us to both start our days that way. And I think it is good that we both take the time before our kids are even awake to take that time for ourselves. So we're centered and we're in a better place starting our days that way. Once our children get up and are raring to go.
Right.
I will say this man is so committed to it that with our first, this was pre-COVID, I have to sing his praises because he was always great at waking up with me for every feeding. And we may have gotten into a groove where we were switching on and off. I don't remember, but he would get up because I was exclusively pumping and not direct feeding through nursing. We would wake up when the baby would wake up and I would pump and he would feed her a bottle from a previous pumping session. So that whole thing would take, about 30 minutes instead of me having to do both and taking an hour and me losing out on an hour of sleep. My point being, because he was doing this with me, the gym that he was a member at the time was open 24 hours. So that was like a 3 o'clock.
Yeah. I think once we nailed down a schedule, it was wake up at 2, I'd leave at 3 or 2:30 to 3, and then get back at like 5. We do another feeding session, then I'd go back to sleep.
Yeah. So this fool in the middle of the damn night would be going to the gym because he was like, I'm up anyway. I've already been up for 30 minutes.
And nobody is there. It was great.
Yeah. So that's commitment. But I think it's also commitment to like your own needs and like honoring your needs first, especially like in the crazy newborn stage. And I will say, looking back, I didn't really have that for myself.
No.
Because I didn't see it. I don't know. I wasn't prioritizing myself in that way at that time.
Most new parents don't. Especially new moms, I can imagine, don't.
Yeah. Which is interesting because it may have led into some things that, I had a harder time with later on.
To be fair, you are all of a sudden in charge of a new life.
Yeah.
So it is hard to prioritize yourself when...
Yeah. And it was easy for me. I mean, because again, he was making a choice to go when I was going back to bed. Like it wasn't impacting us at all. So I was like, hell yeah, go do it. But anyway, just to say his commitment to it has been longstanding and I think has helped him in being a strong partner and
everybody wins if I go to the gym.
Everybody wins if he goes to the gym. Okay. I think that's fair. Yeah, and I'll notice too, every once in a while you'll kind of fall off.
I do.
The horse.
I lose motivation sometimes. Sometimes for a week, sometimes for a month. I think I've gone 3 months without going at times. It's been a while since it's gotten to that point. But I think, when you start to lose motivation, you can kind of start seeing it before it happens or early on. And I think you see it too. Mm-hmm. So I think it's easier to get out of once you can kind of pinpoint what it is.
Can you give any advice to someone who, and again, this is probably largely women listening to this, but if someone is thinking, maybe we'll give this theory of self-spouse spawn a try, any advice to maybe, new dads or to women and how they can support their husbands?
I think the biggest thing, especially with us, was communication. I can go to the gym whenever, but I wouldn't want to do it where it would impact you having to do more work, and vice versa.
With the children.
With the children. And it's not that easy for everybody. I mean, some people like to golf. Well, it's hard to golf at 4 a.m. or 5 a.m.
Sure.
But you still find times, and we have a neighbor who likes to golf. He'll probably go once a week. But now that his kid is 5, he takes his kid with him. Mm-hmm. Maybe that's what it is. I think you kind of you know your partner. You know what they like to do, what they want to do for themselves, and although we don't keep track of a lot of stuff, it's not like a tit for tat. Like, right. I'm not counting diapers, who changed the last diaper.
Right.
It's maybe, well, can I go golf on Saturday? I'll come back and take the kids, and you can go do whatever you want to do. Mm-hmm. And I use golf as an example. It could be go golf, go have a beer with some friends at a brewery, go for a bike ride, anything. Maybe it is more of a tit for tat thing in that aspect, because I wouldn't want to go do something leaving you somewhat resentful because I'm doing something for myself and you don't have the time to do it for yourself.
Yeah.
But you also have to make sure your partner takes that time to do something.
Yes. And
I remember harping on you about doing something for yourself, and you
yes,
just not doing it.
We can talk about that a little bit, because I think I think a lot of women especially are good at prioritizing people over themselves. Absolutely. So they might hear this and go, great, I really think he should dive into that thing that he enjoys. And then catching themselves going, wait a minute, I'm not doing anything. And now I feel a certain type of way because now they're taking time for themselves. And I'm over here mad because I don't have a thing, or I'm not taking time because it doesn't seem like it fits.
Right. And it doesn't, you don't have to have a one thing. I mean, try some things out.
Yeah. I go through different phases, but I'm pretty heavy on like meditating and journaling right now. And that's really good time for me to center in the morning and get myself in a good space to tackle the day. But sometimes I just need to leave for a little bit. And I thought it was very much because I was an only child and I was used to being independent, but I'm also learning because in human design, I'm a projector and I need rest. And sometimes in order to rest when you have children, you have to leave the house. And I'm not saying go lay down and take a nap, but for me, what that looks like is taking a drive. Like, I love just taking a drive alone, especially if it's nice weather, windows down, maybe stop and get a drink, a pop. If you're in Michigan, stop and get a pop and go for a drive and just like bask in the wonder that is driving outside of traffic and in the sun and, whatever. Like that's great for me. And that is rest for me. And that is self-care for me.
And that also, communication is key, because for the longest time, I thought she was just getting away from me because I did something to upset her. I would, ask, when she got back, what happened? What did I do? Or are you mad? Are we okay? No, we're fine. Okay.
Yeah. And I hope that everyone is in a place in their relationships where they can have those conversations. It was a lot for us early on. And I think it happened mainly before we were married. But I was like, I'm not mad. I just need to leave. It's not you. And that was even pre-children. Like, I'm not mad. I just need to go be by myself, because for me, that was restorative to just have the time for my brain to kind of run at its own speed and, run through its own thoughts without having like outside feedback. In Ryan, still, it's been a little while, but I think we're having some struggles with our oldest, and just some of her reactions to things. She was having a hard time managing her reactions to things, and we were working on that with her, but sometimes things would really escalate. And for me, there was one time where it was just too much. Like, I was just maxed out, and he looked at me and said, do you need to go for a drive? And he allowed me the space to not only exit the situation, but like leave the house and take care of my own needs. He was like, I have this under control. Take the keys, go.
I think that's one thing we've done very well at. If our oldest is escalating, if one of us is escalating with her, the other one seems to stay down, have the right frame of mind, not escalating with her. I can't think of a time where we've both been escalating, all three of us escalating, including the kid, at the same time.
Yeah, and then having the awareness to tap out when you're like, this is not positive, because it's hard to regulate a child when you were also not regulated, because their behaviors can be triggering to you for a multitude of reasons.
Because they are the exact same as me.
Ryan is realizing our oldest, she's such an amazing little being, but they're both very stubborn about things. So sometimes things come to a head and it's like watching like 2 rounds, just like headbutt in a battle. And mom has to step in and be like, okay, we're good here. Like I don't have skin in the game. I can work through this. But I think that's part of the spouse thing too, is really connecting and being in tune with one another and being able to read the other person when they're not saying anything. There's a lot of nonverbal communication that goes on. And sometimes it's a look and sometimes it's just a feel.
Oh yeah.
Of like, this situation is changing in a way that's not favorable for one of us.
And, if you weren't in your good space, self-spouse, then you wouldn't read that or, you wouldn't be able to step in.
Yes.
And vice versa.
Yes. I think that's so good.
Because it's not like, my child is not, planning a temper tantrum tomorrow at 4:00.
Right.
It's very spur of the moment. It's out of nowhere, and you just got to deal with it as it comes.
Yes. And I think it's easy to think that men may not need this time, or that men maybe just naturally take more time, especially if they're working outside the home, to like, oh, I'm going to go grab a beer with the guys, or, oh, there's this golf outing I'm going to go to, or whatever. But to not see the men's needs in the same way that the women have the needs of taking care of themselves. They look different.
Some people, they're very good at decompressing on a 10-minute drive from work to home.
Yeah.
I mean, it helps. It helped when I worked out of the home. That is one of the downfalls of working from the house. You don't have any decompression time.
Yeah.
I get off of work and my child is upstairs waiting for me.
Yes.
So there's no decompression.
Yes. Can we talk about that? Because I think that's important too. And I think that's a thing that women who stay home with their children also need. Like,
absolutely.
They're not working, but they're doing the work,
mm-hmm.
If they're home with the kids all day. And yes, you've also, been at the office, but giving each other that time to disconnect from that part of the day and move into the second part of the day. I think that's important too. I do notice that. And what's interesting about Ryan and I is, for the first couple of years we were married, we both had longish commutes.
Yeah.
And so we both had that time to decompress. We were able to sort through our own feelings on the drive home, and then usually set it down pretty quickly after we got home. And then Ryan and I moved into a situation where we worked at the same company for 8 years, and our commute was a lot shorter and it was together, and we did not have a clear cut, like it spilled over. And I think we probably could have done better about putting boundaries in place about when we would stop talking about work, because not only did we work at the same company, it was a small company and we worked in the same department. And then there were times over that 8 years where we ended up working directly together in the same capacity, like on the same accounts. It was very, very close. So there was very little separation. So looking back, I think we could have done a better job at times of, okay, here's the clear cut stopping point for this. We're not going to let it spill over into, even though we're working from home, especially once COVID happened and we were working from home, the lines were very, very blurred.
Mm-hmm.
But building in this is where this part of the day stops, and this is where like family time begins or partner time begins, and what do you need in between to transition? Do you need 10 minutes in your car? Do you tell your husband, like, I know you need to go take a walk around the block before you're ready? Or
I'm going to start doing that. I'm just going to leave my computer and just go in the car and sit for 10 minutes.
You know what? If that's what you need, I can speak from a woman's perspective, but like, what do you think?
No, I think it's important if you can't, especially when the kids are younger. Like right now, Emerson is pretty easy. You go upstairs, she's happy to see you. She's, kind of entertaining herself. But when she was younger, that's when it was really starting to get a bit rough. And I think, it could be as simple as a 10-minute walk. It could be as simple as, taking your shoes, switching shoes, putting slippers on. Who knows? It could be anything. It could be something simple. Because at some point, it's going to be like Pavlov's dogs. You do this, you're completely different. You're parent instead of worker.
And are we talking about specifically like when you're working from home, making that shift? Yeah. Yeah, I think that's important. I think remote work is amazing, and I'm a huge, huge fan of it. But there are implications and things that we don't think about. A lot of us were not planning on working remotely, and then our jobs just switched on us, which I'm very thankful for that it happened. But we were not prepared for that transition of work living in one place outside of the home, and now all of a sudden it's in our home, and how that can look inside your family dynamic.
I think it helps with us that we work downstairs and we live upstairs.
Yeah, I think there's something to be said about designated workspace. I know not everybody has the privilege of extra space in the home. We sold and moved states and bought in 2021, knowing that we were working remotely, so we were able to look for a home with more space. So we are fortunate. I recognize that. What do you think you would suggest, though, if somebody did not have like an extra bedroom? Like, we lucked out. We actually do have 2 extra bedrooms because of the layout and the way our 6-year-old has insisted on sleeping in the room with our baby. Like, we have the space. But what if you don't have the space?
I would find a way to where you cannot see your computer screen from where you're living. If you spend a lot of time on the couch, try not to see your computer screen. If you can, or if you do see your computer screen, put something over it.
Yeah.
Turn it off. Maybe you actually just need to not see your computer, so maybe put a blanket over it. I don't know, whatever works for you to not think about that email, what you have to do tomorrow, what needs to get done in terms of work. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's personally what I would do. I am fortunate I could just go close my door.
Yeah.
So
create separation of some kind. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Getting it as far away, like out of your bedroom, if you can get it out of your bedroom, would be ideal.
Because at our old house, you could see it. You could see your workspace from the living room, and it was not like, I think we changed sides of the room. That helped a little bit.
Well, it was like the situation was evolving. Yeah. Like, we knew we were working from home for a little bit of time, and we didn't know it was going to be permanent. And until they said it was permanent, like, that's when we kind of rearranged our house. Mm-hmm. And I took over our guest bedroom, and like, you moved into the space downstairs. Yeah. So we were able to work with it. But yeah, in those first few months when it was like on our dining room table, and we have a former coworker who's become a friend who I'm pretty sure is still set up at their dining room table.
Oh, he is.
And it's been 3 years, and it's like, no. And you saw emails from him sometimes at 3 o'clock in the morning because he was like, well, I was up. I had to go use the restroom. And we saw, I saw the computer. It's like, no, buddy. So do you think that falls under both self, spouse, and spawn? Like, having those clear, where do you think that falls in the continuum of self, spouse, spawn?
I would say mostly with self. Okay. Because if you feel like you're expected to work after hours, if you're not getting paid for the after hours, of course, then it's draining on you. It's if I was expected to work or kept seeing work and I kept running over to answer an email real quick when I'm supposed to be either hanging out with you or hanging out with the kids, I mean, it would be, it's on me. I'm not at my best. I'm not at my best for you. I'm not at my best for the kids. So I would say self. Okay. Yeah. And then with spillover implications. Exactly, yep. Yeah. Which is what this whole thing is about for us. We kind of joked about it, but like the more we've like internalized it, we're like, no, this is really good that, we're not hinging our value and our happiness on one another. The partner is just adding to it, not the source of it. Now, we absolutely will rely on each other when we're feeling, low or depleted in some way, and sometimes the one person is just exhausted mentally and needs the other person to kind of step up in a different way. But again, that's where that communication comes in. But if you can get yourself as good as possible first, you're going to be good for everybody else. And that's why it's not selfish. Yeah. It's because you are filling your cup so you can pour into others. It's like the airplane when the oxygen comes down, you put yours on first. Yeah. And then you put everybody else's on. Yeah. I think you're also setting like a really good example for your children. Like making sure that you do honor your needs first. And it doesn't mean that your needs trump all, but it means that there is space for them to be considered first. Right. Yeah. And it's not a it's not a secret. I mean, Emerson knows I wake up before she gets up and goes to the gym.
Mm-hmm.
She's 100% aware of it. She sees it on Saturdays. The gym opens a little bit later after she wakes up. She'll see me go. She sees me come back.
This is interesting, though, because she knows that you get up and do those things. We have not talked about this. This is just kind of coming to me. So she sees Dad doing those things. She doesn't know what I do in the morning before she wakes up. Because you physically leave, she's not seeing me do that necessarily.
Yeah.
So I wonder, we talk about setting an example, I wonder if she's internalizing that at all.
Or if you did the same thing every day. Like, I can go to the gym. I can do anything in the gym. I don't have to, like, explain to her what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she knows I go to the gym, I exercise. Some mornings you'll wake up and you'll journal. Some mornings you'll wake up and you'll do yoga.
But I'm doing that before she wakes up,
right.
So she has no idea.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's simple to say Dad goes to the gym as opposed to Mom, sometimes yogas, sometimes journals.
Yeah.
Sometimes meditates until she falls back asleep.
Hey, that happens like once a month. Relax. There's danger in meditating laying down first thing in the morning, people. So I think it's interesting that it's coming up.
Yeah.
Do I start to have those conversations? Like, this is what I do in the morning when you're still asleep.
Why not?
I'm coming from a place that I think society teaches little girls to grow up to be a certain way. And I am very deliberate about breaking down those things that I don't think serve girls or women in general. So I need to think about
how,
I think we do in general a great job. I think I could just be more mindful about how I'm taking care of myself and showing that to them.
Yeah.
And that, yes, it does usually happen in hours that you're not awake, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we're a good model for them of spouse.
Self and spouse.
But I mean, I think the marriage.
Yeah.
And this wasn't going to be a marriage talk necessarily, but I think since we're talking about modeling things, Ryan and I get along very, very well. He's very easy to get along with. He's very hard to upset, very slow to anger. The only time I've ever seen him like actually mad was with the lactation consultant at the hospital after the birth of our daughter. Ryan like never gets mad, but he was ready to punch this woman. In the moment, it was not funny, but looking back, it is kind of funny. He's not going
to punch her.
No. He would never lay a hand. That was a figurative punch, but he was done. He was done with the whole situation and done with her. And when she tried to come back in the room, like just straight daggers out of the eyes, like. But to that point, I think we really try to model healthy communication with, like, in front of them.
Yeah. I think we are pretty open about what we can talk about in front of them, especially when it comes to the two of us.
Mm-hmm. Yes. But I think, like, just demonstrating that respect towards one another, and because there is true respect between us. It's not like something that we have to fake, and there's genuine love and care. Yeah. This sounds braggy, but I just...
And it's not, I mean, not every marriage is perfect. I mean, ours isn't perfect. We have our ups and downs like everybody, and I don't want this to feel like a braggy...
Oh, no.
I think our marriage is great, but just like every marriage, it takes work. It's ups and it's downs. You pick each other up. You sometimes just not getting along for a day, 2 days, week. It happens.
I think on that spouse note, there are times where we're just having a conversation, and not even anything about, like, anything particularly serious, but we're realizing, like, for some reason we are just not seeing eye to eye today. Like, we are just not on the same page, and we'll just set a conversation down. We're like, this is not working for whatever reason right now. Like, we thought the other person would receive it differently than they are, and neither one of us means anything malicious, but, like, that's just not the day for the conversation. Like, planes will not fall out of the sky if we don't talk about this matter today. So, like, why don't we come back to that later? Like,
I think that's something that evolved as well, because I think early on that would have been angering.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have a conversation, you want to finish this conversation? No. Now it's just like, I'm on this page, you're on that page, we'll come back.
Well, when we come back to it, we usually, like, there's usually another factor at play. Like, I was exhausted and I was fried over this. Or you were like, I was coming from this place, but not conveying, how I actually felt or what I actually meant by it. And usually when we come back to it, it's like a non-issue. I would say 90% of the time it's a non-issue. So yeah, I think even giving each other that space where you're like, oh, let's just come back to this. Like, this is not.
And just remember, like, I'm not going to do anything to upset you. You're not going to do anything to intentionally upset me. So it's really just.
Yeah.
Make sure you're on the same page.
Yeah.
Have the conversation.
Yeah.
Move on.
Yeah. I think we joke that like we don't take things too seriously, but maybe we do, because we're like, it's maybe us being like, it's not that serious is taking it seriously, because we're like, this doesn't need to be a fight. This doesn't need to be an argument. Like, this matter is not that big of a deal. And what's going to matter in a week? What's going to matter in a month? What's going to matter,
Most of it will not.
Exactly. And then carrying that over with your kids too. With Emerson, we had a lot of, we didn't realize until she was probably 4. Like, we knew, but we didn't know like what to call it. So she had these sensory processing issues specifically around clothing that was very challenging to work through in the morning, because almost every morning was a clothing meltdown. And
she wasn't old enough to pick her own clothes out, so she didn't know what felt good and what felt not good. So we were picking clothes out that we didn't know she would not like.
But sometimes these would lead to like very heated situations where, she's melting down and you're like, oh my gosh, it's not that freaking serious. Like, we're talking about a shirt. But like, to her, it is very, very serious. But, where you can, pausing and going like, this will not matter in a week. Like, it's not that serious. We've only been parents since 2017. So like, we're not new, but like, we still have a lot to experience. But
oh yeah, and there's no harm in saying that I did things the wrong way sometimes and changing the way you do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, you definitely learn about yourself a lot. And I think you learn about your partner a lot too. I knew long before we decided to have children that you were going to be an excellent partner and an excellent dad. And like, you definitely proved that, but like in ways that I wasn't expecting, so.
You can imagine somebody being a good parent, but until they're doing it, it's different.
Yeah. I thought he was just going to be like a solid dad all around, but like, I had no idea that he was going to be up with me, in the middle of the night, every single time, handling all these things, and just like really standing by my side as I was transitioning and dealing with postpartum, all the things that happen right after you have a baby, and like just there for all of it, and in such supportive and kind ways, even when you're like, I don't know what's happening right now. Kind of on that note, can we talk about, did anything about fatherhood like surprise you about yourself?
Not a lot. Now that I see my daughter becoming me, it's a little scary. Yes, my child is as stubborn as I am. That's a little bit scary.
For you, it's not scary for me, because I'm like, yes, she's gonna be a strong, independent woman.
You know how to handle me now. Therefore, you know how to handle her. It's kind of easy for you at this point. How much I don't care about a lot of other stuff.
Oh yeah, elaborate.
My circle is relatively small. Friends, there are very few things.
By your own design. That is not.
Yeah, no, I as you've mentioned, I'm a little bit of an introvert.
Just a little.
I'm not one to walk into a room of people I don't know and leave knowing everybody.
Ryan's the guy that finds the dog and wants to spend the time with the dog. He's that guy in all the memes. That's Ryan.
To be fair, the dogs find me.
It's true, they do. But anyway, that's him.
They know I'm a sucker. The things that can truly affect me, the people that can truly affect me, that is a very small group of things, people. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of stuff I just don't care about outside of that circle. A lot of it doesn't affect me. A lot of it won't bother me.
And can I say, Ryan is not an asshole. I think coming out of some people, you'd be like, that is arrogant as hell, and that guy sounds like a dick. Like, it's not. You're kind and courteous to everybody.
If somebody called me and said, I need you to do X, Y, Z, I would probably do it. I like to help people. Yeah.
I mean, even if they're not within that circle that you're
in. No. But if so-and-so said, oh, I don't like that guy for X, Y, Z, I'd be like, okay. Moving on.
Unbothered.
Very few things can affect me, especially now that I have a family. Like the priorities are myself, my wife, my kids, my friends, my extended family, but
Yeah, I think that comes with age too. I have this conversation a lot with Mary. Mary will be in a future episode. Not the Mary I talked to, a different Mary who is, early in her 30s. And I kept telling her, I was like, because I'm about 6 years older than her, I was like, just wait. Like, you're going to set a lot of this stuff down. It's going to feel really good. And now she's about to have a baby. And I'm like, just wait. Like, the stuff that you thought mattered, you're going to be like, I don't have time for any of that mess. And you're going to it's like so empowering.
And I think that's, not caring, it doesn't matter. So therefore it's like, I don't care as much.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, if my football team doesn't win, I'm not happy, but I'm not gonna, like, get on message boards and trash people and show anger towards people. I mean,
yeah. You're not like kicking the cat or.
No.
He would never, but you know what I mean? Like, there's no like, like, yeah.
It's more about, oh, that stinks. Okay.
Oh, geez, that's not ideal. Yeah. But you've always been very even kill, so that doesn't surprise me.
Not always. I don't know what happened, but a few years into our relationship, some change happened, and I guess
he just died a little bit inside.
Sounds like something your dad would say.
It sounds like something my dad would say, totally. Yeah. That's funny. Okay. So just to summarize, nothing surprising. You're very focused in on what like truly like matters in your world, and like there's just not a whole lot of space or energy to designate to the things that don't. Right. Yeah. I think that's fair. I think we all kind of go through that evolution. And I think it's good when you're like, you know what, that really actually doesn't matter. You've always been really good about that. I tend to let things get to me that are really not that important. I'm getting better about it, more so as the years go on. But you've always been very like, psh, it's not that serious.
I'm easy to let things go.
And not in a dismissive way, It's very much like, I see that this matters to you. I'm going to hold space for you, but like, I'm going to be here to ground you because I know at the end of the day, like, it's going to be fine. And this isn't as, wildly important as it feels right now. And once you move through it, you're going to be fine too. And I'm just going to hold space of fineness until you get there. Yeah. Yeah, he's great balance for someone like me. So is there any other ways that it's very easy to kind of lose? I think it's more of a mom issue, because moms are kind of expected to take on this whole persona of selfless mother. But I'm not saying that there aren't dads who kind of lose, it's a huge deal to like become a parent and having to, in ways, put yourself second behind your children.
Something happened with one of the kids and I couldn't go to the gym, then so be it.
Of course. So how do you, outside of the gym, make sure that you're staying like tapped into like who Ryan is?
That's who I am. The gym. Gym and
he
dogs.
Sounds like the biggest D-bag, but I promise you he's lovely. Yeah, I think it's a little more simple. I think maybe it is in general because guys don't take on the same like level of expectation of change.
Yeah, the expectation is, I think media has made it seem like guys do absolutely nothing. So they get applauded when they do the littlest thing. You take your kid for a walk and it's like, oh, look at that great dad.
Yeah.
And it's kind of bullshit.
Agreed.
There were no expectations. To me, I don't feel like I had expectations placed on me bigger than the ones I put on myself.
Okay.
I expected to be a father. I expected to communicate with you. I didn't want you to take the full burden of having a child. It's our child. We made this choice. So if you were nursing, the nights would have been different.
Yeah.
But you weren't. So we talked about what we could do to make it more even. And that's what we decided on. I would feed and change. You would
pump.
When they grew older, it was, all right, if they wake up between this time and this time, I'll handle it. If they wake up between this time and this time, you'll handle it. And that time that you were handling it was my gym time.
Yeah.
Which made sense for me. I mean,
yeah.
It's about being flexible with almost everything and communicating what you need. And what I needed was that time for me to go to the gym and, reset.
Yeah.
And if something's happening and she needs me to come home, I'll drop what I'm doing and come home.
Yeah. I mean, there are times occasionally too, our second daughter had more I feel like she has had more stages of like sleep regression, you know, and you're like, why are you waking up right now? And there would be time, because I also, on top of having my me time, like I tried to get myself completely ready for the day and in the time before they wake up. So if one of them wakes up early, especially mainly the baby's the problem when she wakes up early. I'm like, I can't get ready for the day, and me being ready to walk out the door, like that's the first step in everyone else being ready, you know, like
Yeah, if you're delayed, it seems like everybody.
Exactly. So there are times when she wakes up during my time and he's gone and will not go back down, that I send him a message like, could you wrap up, please? Could you come back? I need some help.
Yeah, so I can handle her, and then you can do what you need to get us back on track.
Yeah, yeah. So there's a lot of give and take in making this work, but you've got to kind of drop the tit for tat. But I think if you're both tending to your own needs as evenly as possible, and knowing that it'll ebb and flow and that it could look differently depending on the other external factors in your world at that time, but holding space for yourself and then holding space for your partner to also take the time to meet their needs. So if there is a mama to be listening who could share some tidbits with their spouse, their partner, if you could give a piece of advice to get back to a new dad, what would it be? About anything. I mean, self or children or your wife, whatever.
I feel a little bit like a broken record. I think communication is by far the biggest thing. You know that this might make you happy, and this could be whatever it is for you. You can ask for help. You can talk about it. Like, hey, I'd really like to start doing this. How can we work it into our schedule to where you won't feel burdened by it? Mm-hmm. So that's the last thing I would want for you, is to be burdened by something I want to go do.
Thank you for feeling that way, by the way. Not everybody feels that way.
But yeah, and then just don't be afraid to ask for help.
Yeah. Doing
that, and maybe that's help from your spouse. Maybe that's help from friends. Like, let's just go do something. And maybe just go for a drive with your friend.
Can we talk about guys asking for help?
No.
I made a post very recently about building your own support, and it was very much focused at kind of the women heading this, like, because they talk about a village, and like the village isn't really built in, you need a village, it takes a village, blah, blah, blah. But, I'm talking to women. And I'm talking about how women can ask for the support. But, like, can we talk about how guys, for just a minute, like, guys don't ask for help a lot of the times.
Correct.
Where could they ask for help?
Maybe it's not asking. Maybe it's just texting, hey, got time for a phone call.
Yeah.
And having your spouse like, hey, can you watch the kids for 10, 20 minutes?
So you mean like reaching out to a friend?
Reaching out.
The guy reaching out.
Yes.
The dad reaching out.
But because you're not saying that, hey, do you have time for a call? I really need help. Because I think that's like the stigma. Like, people are afraid to admit they need help.
Okay.
So maybe you don't want to admit it.
Okay.
So you just text. Because my friends and I are not good at answering the phone.
Yeah.
Unless there's a text ahead of time. Unless it's like hey, you around?
Yeah.
Got time for a call? Sweet.
Yeah.
It will call.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's good too, because if you can lead with I really could use a chat in whatever bro language you want to use. Yeah. But like your friend on the other end will pick up on like, oh,
this guy, some ideas.
This guy needs to talk right now. Like, let me make some time to catch this phone call.
And I've picked up the phone, and I thought it was going to be a quick 5-minute chat, but they really needed to talk about some stuff, so I was there for it.
Yeah. So asking for help.
So it doesn't always have to be asking for help.
Yeah.
It can be as simple as, hey, you want to grab a beer real quick?
Yeah. Says the guy who never goes to grab a beer, but yeah, good example.
Grab a coffee before 2:30, because if he drinks it after 2:30, he'll be up all night.
I think it's
but
good.
If you can ask for help, if you can do it, good for you.
Yeah. Yeah, I had said in the same post about, like, we need to release any shame about 1, asking for help, 2, receiving for help, and 3, outsourcing and paying for help if it will help you. Like, there's no shame in that. Like, nobody in real life is juggling, like, both parents working, children, or child, just one even, and life and taking care of yourself. Oh, and keeping your house clean and staying up on your laundry and your grocery shopping. Like, that's not happening.
These social media families they all have help.
Yeah. Yeah. Or they have one corner of their house that looks beautiful and clean and the rest is a disaster. Like, we're living in the real world here.
Photoshop.
Yeah. And if you need to, we are very, very much in love with the idea of outsourcing house cleaning because it is not our jam. It is not something we enjoy. Yeah, it's just not a strong... We
always will do it one weekend and say, all right, we're going to keep it a little bit every day, and we never do.
We're going to maintain, and then we panic clean, at the last minute. So that's something that we're super looking forward to doing. We are pausing because I am more available right now. But, we have no shame around it. Like, we have no shame around outsourcing that thing. And childcare, if you just need a break, like, whatever, it's all good. So
yeah, and I have no doubt if something was happening with Emerson and we just had enough of her, we could
that sounds so bad.
Text the neighbor like, hey, can she come over and play with your son? And they've done it with us 100%. And vice versa, and we have no problem with it. They play well together, they're friends.
Yeah.
And I don't count how many times one's been over to the other house.
Right.
It just works.
Yeah.
I mean, you can admit to yourself you need help, but admitting to somebody else you need help might not be your jam.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. I mean, is there anything else you want to add? You've warmed up a little bit, which is good. You don't look quite as uncomfortable as you did a few minutes ago. But
I guarantee you I feel as uncomfortable.
Oh, it's funny because I'm getting used to this after doing a few of these, but his discomfort is wearing off on me because it's not organic. Like, our organic, like, deep conversations are so good. But I think with Father's Day coming up, it was a good chance to pull in a male perspective and, someone who could back up my bullshit, that I'm not just, like, spewing this nonsense, like, it does actually work.
It works for us. Might not work for everybody. I would say give it a go if you think it might work for you.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I agree. Give it a go. We talked about spouses and how we take care of one another by allowing each other time and space for meeting their own needs. But, like, we could do better at the spouse piece. I think it's hard because we have a toddler.
100% we could. We were doing lunch dates for a while. And that was once every 2-3 weeks?
We were trying to do that. We would both, take our lunch because we both were, we worked both remotely when I was still gainfully employed. But we would take a lunch break and we would go run, somewhere nearby where we could go have lunch in an hour, and come back.
Like you said, we have, I won't say late night conversations, but, the kids go down and, maybe it's a night that I'm not going to wake up at stupid o'clock and I'll stay up a little bit late and we'll have conversations or talk about the kids or how we're feeling.
Yeah, but we have to be intentional about it because it's so easy to get sucked into whatever's on TV and also scrolling. Sitting beside each other and doing all these things, you're spending time together, but, like, you're not spending time together. So
you're together individually.
Yeah, you're sharing a space, but yeah. So I think intentionality is huge with all of these pieces and just really trying to be mindful and be as present as possible. This doesn't count as a date, though, so.
Great.
Oh, I will say, we had, like, this childcare, like, kind of mental block about, like, hiring, like, paid help for childcare. And you talked about the neighbor briefly. We were so lucky that we have amazing neighbors. Second time that this has happened to us, we also had amazing neighbors that became, like, family when we lived in North Carolina. But we're very fortunate that we've hit it off with the people across the street. But I was like, I guess we need to find a babysitter. Like, we need to get realistic. We need to find a babysitter. And she was like, check the people that work at your daycare, and where we were at before in North Carolina, they were like, do not ask employees to babysit. It is a conflict of interest. You can both get in trouble, blah, blah, blah. But, we reached out to the infant teachers, a couple of the infant teachers that Everly had, and they were like, hell yes.
Without a doubt. And
then, I mean, for us, where they're at, the chain has a very good reputation, regionally here. And, we know that everyone is vetted and background checked. And, a lot of these younger teachers are, like, in early education paths, like at the college level and things like that. So, and then we knew them from, Everly interacting with them, and, that Everly was fond of them. So we got both of their numbers and have connected, and we've not used them. But that your child knows them, your child is comfortable with them, that they've been vetted, you still want to take your same precautions that you would take with anybody, but like, at least you've got a starting point of somebody that isn't a stranger and knows your children or your child. So, and then we know too that if she can handle 4 to 5 infants at a time, like she can definitely handle a 6-year-old and our toddler. So yeah. Well, this has been fun. Thank you for stepping out of your comfort zone. And, I think that's where the magic lies, is right outside of where you're comfortable. So, yeah, he's not on social. He's not, you're not going to be able to find him to follow him. Sorry. He's not here for it, but he may make a cameo every now and again on my Instagram. But yeah, he's the guy behind the scenes here, holding it all together and supporting all of our dreams. So we're so grateful to him, and my cheeks hurt because I truly mean it. I'm truly grateful for him, and this life that we built is great. So happy early Father's Day, and thank you for being uncomfortable, and
thanks for having me.
I'll let you get back to life now. And I really hope you enjoyed this episode and the opportunity to hear the male perspective on our self-spouse spawn theory and how it has helped us stay balanced in marriage and in parenthood. Thanks again, Ryan. I know that was super uncomfortable, and I appreciate your vulnerability. Here are today's key takeaways. 1, successful partnerships don't keep score, but instead help each other in balancing their needs. 2, tend to self by building in space and time for decompression from the workday and to transition into the family portion of your day. This is especially important if you work from home, as it can easily bleed into home life if you let it. Consider giving remote work its own dedicated space in your home. 3, communication is key, and that includes communicating your needs. Ask for help if you need it. 4, try different strategies to make self-spouse spawn work for your family. It doesn't have to look the same from one family to the next, but the foundation of putting your oxygen mask on first is so important. Prioritizing yourself isn't always easy, but it is always worth it. And lastly, remembering to take into account, will this matter tomorrow? Will this matter in a week? Oftentimes, it's just not that serious. Thanks again for joining me today. I hope you found some tidbits to potentially incorporate into your own lives. Until next time, come hang out with me over on Instagram or on Facebook at Having a Mom Moment. And if you're interested in sharing your motherhood journey, I'd love to hear it. Or if you're knowledgeable in a space that's helpful for moms, I'd love to hear from you as well. Please fill out the guest application form in the show notes so we can get connected. If no one has told you today, you are amazing, you are loved, and I am so proud of the badass that you are. Bye, Mama.